You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show of the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. We don't have any new callers today. We do have Daniel from California, although his first call is 4 seconds, so I'm not sure if this is real or not. Bear with me. Here we go. Nope. All right, Daniel from California, part 2. What's going on?
Hey, Ryan Dudley from Philadelphia.
What's up?
Yeah, I was just listening to the Monday episode, Victory Monday, and just going for scores and stuff. And
We're having a lot of problems with calls lately. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's a problem with the Google or if the frickin' towers are all jacked up lately, but I feel like every call we've gotten recently is all broke up and stupid sounding.
like the idea of somebody watching a game and thinking like, oh yeah, like, what do you mean that guy played good? And then, you look back and you look at PFF grades and say, wait, what? That guy is like a 4-3 grade? And it's kind of like the preliminary grades versus the dialed in grades, because like sometimes you see some big swings. Like you'll see somebody who's a 70 and then they'll drop down to a 55.
Yeah.
Or you'll see somebody who's maybe a 60 and they shoot up to like an 80. And it's not every, player, but you'll see those 1 or 2 guys. But it really kind of defends that idea that you can't trust what you're seeing on first watch.
Right.
And it really kind of shows all that, because there's been times where it's like, oh yeah, Evan Williams got a 70 grade, and then when somebody actually watches it, not live, they go back and watch play for play, and they're like, oh, this guy was elite. We got to give this guy a 90, because it's like, oh, he played pretty good, and then you're like, whoa, he played really good, right? So these guys that don't like PFF, I get it. We all acknowledge this a million times. It has its problems, but it's just kind of another way. It's like, yeah, they really are taking the time to get it right, just because you see it when you watched it live and you're not going to go back and watch it again. It's just like you get grounded in believing, oh, I know what I saw. This guy's amazing. Right. It's like, oh, yeah, he's a 60 player. Yeah, he's pretty good, but it's not as good as you thought. So I like thinking of it like that, where it's just they're going back and taking the time so I don't have to. So that's all I got. Go Pack Go.
No, I think that's a perfect way to put it. And yeah, they did just recently start doing these preliminary grades, so you can watch them grade as it goes on. And yeah, you'll see, for example, like after a big play, let's say Edgerrin Cooper, he comes in and he gets a sack, right? Well, now he's got like a 98 grade. And then shortly after, he gets a pass breakup, and all this stuff happens. Yeah, if you look at his grade, he's the highest graded guy on the team. After, about 10 plays, he kind of normals out, gets a couple 60s and whatever mixed in. He's got like an 85 grade. He's doing great. The problem is the game continues going on. He gets like a 40 on that play. He gets, it's not really how it works, I don't think, but he gets, a -2 on this play, -1 on that play. And again, you got to remember, their grades are based on a 2-point scale. So even the best possible play, he only got 2 points. If he misses a tackle, I don't know what that is, but let's say that's a -1, -1.5, whatever. To call it a -1, that just 50% negated whatever he had on that interception or pass breakup or whatever. And I've said this before, I think a lot of fans, if you were to do a fan scale, it would be a much higher scale. Because I think what fans want are really big reactions to the really big things. And I also think, and this would be a really stupid way to do it, but if you really wanted to make the most amount of people happy, it would also be more results-based. So if you threw to a guy wide open 5 yards down the field and it's a touchdown, that should be really high grade. Even though there's absolutely nothing impressive about what you did whatsoever. There's zero pressure. The guy's wide open. It was only a 5-yard pass. But if you end the game with like 3 touchdowns and get a 60 grade, everyone's going to freak out. How could you get 3 touchdowns? But yeah, I mean, listen, there may be objections to certain things, but I think the biggest problem I have with the anti-PFF crowd is almost none of them. I know some of them, some very, very small percentage do. Almost none of them actually go back and watch the games. It's not about that. It doesn't matter. It's just about, here's how I feel. Sometimes it's based on, I saw one or two plays that I really like. Sometimes it's just based on, shut up, PFF, you're an idiot. Stop talking trash about the players that I like. That's what happened when I went on Twitter not too long ago and said we need to have a conversation about Kenny Clark because he had been bad for like 5 weeks and everybody lost their mind. Nobody was interested in having a discussion in the opposite direction. Nobody wanted to be like, okay, let's have a discussion and here's why you're wrong. They wanted to not have a discussion because the only thing they wanted to say was shut up. Stop talking about Kenny. Shut up. It's emotional anti-intellectualism. And the thing that drives me nuts is when these emotional people who are anti-intellectual, anti-truth, anti-reasoning, anti-rationality try to stitch together some kind of a rational, logical argument for why it's incorrect. You know what? If you're going to live in the realm of emotion, just stay emotional. Just flail and scream and cry and lash out. Don't come back with, well, everybody knows, and you actually believe PFF. Everybody knows that that's fake. And no, it's not. No, don't enter the realm of truth, of objective reality, that PFF is objectively incorrect when that's not what you're even upset about. Just be honest. Be honest with yourself and be honest with everybody else. You don't know. You don't care. You stop. Here's a test if you're not sure which one you're in. Don't make claims unless you looked into it. If you're going to say you're anti-PFF, tell me why. Have you watched film and it ends up being different than what PFF says? Have you actually done studies to see the correlation between PFF grades and actual success where you can measure it against other, sort of results? Or like I said, a baseline test would be sorted by PFF grade and see if that's a pretty good list. Now, you're adding subjectivity into it, but it's a start. No, nobody wants to do anything. Nobody wants to have to do anything. How I feel in the moment, my immediate rationalization of how I can make this go away because I don't like it is good enough. That's what I don't like. If you have a specific critique, and I've had several, by all means. For example, I get annoyed when somebody has an 80 pass blocking grade and a 60 or a 50 run blocking grade and they give them a 55 PFF grade. Maybe the math checks out. I don't know, because you look at the snap counts and it's like, well, did he just run block all day? It's like, nope, it was 50-50. Sometimes pass block even more. In fact, usually, because most teams pass more than they run. It's like, listen, I don't fully know how you came to that, but I think that's stupid. Because if you dominated as a pass blocker and you were subpar as a run blocker, in my opinion, you had a great day. I'm sorry, you just did. Because it's more important, and that's just how I feel about it. So the overall grade is less important because they presumably treat them as being completely equal, and it's just a matter of pass or fail on a given play, irregardless of how important, yes, that's a word, how important of one thing is as opposed to another. And that's not how I view it. That's not how I would have graded it. There are minor differences in philosophies as to how I would go about things or not. But you know what? If I really didn't like it and I really wanted a new philosophy, maybe I could create my own metrics and do my own thing. But you know what? It's too hard and it's too much work and I don't have the ability to do it. So I'm going to let PFF do it and I'm going to accept the differences that we have. And then, add in some other things. We're going to look at DVOA. We're going to look at NFL Pro and some of the more advanced statistics that do also, like PFF does, have relatively high correlations to success, like, yards per route run for receivers, adjusted net yards per attempt for quarterbacks, things like that. These are pretty solid metrics in giving you an overall view of how good a thing is. EPA, right? Pretty good. It's pretty solid. It works. Anyways, no, I agree 100%, and I think that that's very true, and I think it's a good illustration. I really do, and I think because a lot of times we'll see the one or two plays and we'll really like it, and it's like, no, PFF agrees with you on those plays, and they agree with you on their play up to that point. The problem is, after that, it was negative, and then negative, and then negative, and you weren't paying attention, so you weren't thinking about it. You're just, the point is, when a guy like, I'm going to pick on Edrin, he had a great grade. I'm just doing it partially because he had a good day, so I'm not specifically calling anybody out. But let's say Edrin had a good couple plays. If you don't see him after that, a lot of times you just continue on with he's having a great day. Somebody will call you 20 minutes after the last time you even saw him on the screen. You're like, bro, he's having a good day. Seriously, like a great day. And sometimes he'll miss a tackle. You don't even know who it was. Like freaking missed tackles again. You didn't even notice who the number was. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Or there'll be 3 or 4 guys in a pile that let him get out, and you can't even see because it's a tiny little area. So, yeah, I've basically said all that before. I do like the analogy or illustration that you gave. It's not really an analogy, but it's just that's a good way of thinking about it or looking at it.
Hey, Ryan, TJ from Alabama. Hope you're doing well.
Doing good.
Just thinking, was the game great? No, not so much. But, 6-2 is still 6-2. And you brought it up after the game. There's so many examples of teams either losing to teams they shouldn't or not playing as well as they should. And that's not an excuse. It's not that it's okay, yada, yada. But, really just looking at the whole picture, 6-2, I'm good. It's not all luck. It isn't like we're getting lucky as sin and, there's no reason we should be 6-2. No, we're not playing as good as we could. But it's not all luck. There's a lot of good in there, even in the Jacksonville game. Jacobs was good. McKinney was good. There was plenty good. Jordan got hurt on the first drive. And we still found a way to win. So, was it great? No. Am I good with it? Yes, I am. And touching on, the different players that have made a difference this season. And yes, I am a bit of a bootlicker. I can say that out front. But
you bastard.
Free agent wise, McKinney and Jacobs. I love Aaron Jones, but I don't think Aaron Jones could have done what Jacobs is doing this year. Rushing that much, blah, blah, blah. I don't think it would have happened. In the draft, getting Edge, getting Williams, and there's still plenty of players, obviously, with the Morgans of the world, the Bullards of the world, that could absolutely show something. Trading for Malik, I don't know how many general managers would have done that or not. I know there only one that did. Yeah. And saying, hey, no, we're going to get rid of our last 2 draft picks of quarterbacks for the last 2 years, and we're going to bring in Malik. And, that's pretty tough. So you throw all those together, McKinney, Jacobs, Edge, Williams, Malik. I'm not sure we're 6-2 if we're not doing that.
Oh, no chance.
Injuries kind of suck, but I don't think Minnesota with losing Hutch and Minnesota losing Darisaw and Detroit losing Hutchinson and some of the other, I don't think anybody's crying for us. So that is what it is. So overall, feeling pretty good.
Yeah, that's fair.
Completely a random topic that was way out of date, but just curious what you think. If you gave Gutekunst truth serum and said, yes, I'm glad you got Stones and you held the Jets hostage and blah, blah, blah. But after it's all said and done, what would he have? Would he have given Rodgers away at the end of it to get rid of the contract and stuff like that? What would he have actually taken for Rodgers if there was no other option? That's it. Talk to you later, Ryan. Bye.
Yeah, it is interesting to see what would have happened if you didn't have the incompetence of the Jets, right? Because everybody was pointing out something that was relatively true. Remember, we had the nonstop conversation about leverage, and a lot of people pointed out a truth, and that was the Packers had no leverage. And it's like, well, that's true, except for the part where their leverage is the fact that the Jets have no leverage. It kind of leverages, they're leveraging against each other's leverage, I guess you could say. But if you didn't have the Jets being that stupid, what exactly would they have done? Now, we did have the report from Bob McGinn basically saying everybody in the building is sick of him, they can't stand the guy, and they would happily cut him before they would ever, and take the cap hit or whatever the exact phrasing was. Bottom line is they're getting rid of this freaking guy one way or another. So I don't know. I don't know what exactly would have been done. I mean, to be fair, the way that Rodgers restructured his contract, I mean, the Jets didn't have to take on very much in order to bring him on. So really the question would have just come down to, like you said, what is the minimum compensation they would have allowed? Or would they have just let him walk out the door if somebody's like, look, I know we're not taking on much, but I can't stand the thought of him being our quarterback, and I guess it's a slight bump, it's a short-term bump or whatever. We'll give you a little something. I tend to think the Packers are moving on, and they would have taken, if there was absolutely nothing, they probably would have just taken the minimum. You could say, no, they wouldn't. They would have hung on and waited. maybe. But if we're to the point where people are not offering hardly anything, are you going to risk having that kind of a toxicity going into the season? The first year you're asking this guy to be your starter, you got nothing but everybody wanting to talk about Aaron Rodgers all the time, so that you can maybe get it bumped up to a conditional 7th or something? Like, I think it was over. They were going to do the best they could to get the most they could, and if that wasn't very much, then they were just going to go ahead and not get very much. Yeah, you're right. The injuries, we've been relatively fortunate. I mean, the Jordan thing is catastrophic. To lose your quarterback for potentially 3 weeks through the first 8 is devastating. Except for the fact that we've got a guy that has come in. Well, it might actually be almost 4, because I mean it's like 3. It's been 2.5 already. It might be 3.5 if he doesn't play this week. But except for the fact that we have Malik. Losing Jair has been difficult, and people have already pointed out how much time that guy has missed, and it has been quite a bit. Didn't really think about it very often, and maybe that's where the frustration with Jair comes from, because I never really understood it. It's like, he's been a good corner. I know he's never lived up to being the best in football after he did it the one time, but if you're going to punish him for being good, elite for a year, that's stupid rationale. But maybe it just comes down to, the lack of availability is kind of stitched into that as well. I don't really know. But you're right. There have been absolutely devastating injuries on other teams. I think Aiden Hutchinson's the biggest one. The Lions also are going to be out without their number 2 wide receiver. I don't even know for how long. I don't even know what the latest is on him. It's a weird situation. First, his rookie year, I think he was suspended for gambling. So he missed like the full year, I think. Whatever. He was suspended at some point for some period of time for gambling. Then this year, he gets suspended for performance-enhancing drugs. So let's just say drugs because it's funny. So drugs and gambling. Then it came out, dude got arrested, and he was, I don't know if he was speeding or what, but he got arrested because he had a gun in his car. And I don't know what the laws were in whatever state, presumably Michigan, on, I don't know if it was an illegal gun or he illegally possessed it or whatever. I don't think he had like an open carry license or something. I don't know what the heck the thing is. And I thought, dang, this just happened. Turns out, no, it happened 2 weeks prior to his PED suspension. And the issue is he got released right away, and the police department did an investigation as to why he wasn't taken to jail, because he was supposed to be taken to jail. That was the whole thing. They said, you're going to take him to jail, and at some point along the way, he just got let out. So now this is circling back presumably to the NFL, especially now that this has become public. So I have a personal question. I don't know if it's true, but I have a question as to whether the NFL is going to now hand down another suspension to him for being arrested for unlicensed gun possession or whatever the thing is. So, first of all, he's not going to play in this game thanks to the PED thing from 2 weeks ago. But you've got a guy now who is in his, 3rd year or something. He has now been suspended for gambling, drugs, and guns. Like, America. All I know is he needs to play on Thanksgiving, because that would just be, you can suspend him, but let him play Thanksgiving and then get him out of there. Just feels like a very American thing, you know what I mean? Get a DUI, drugs, guns. It's like a rock and roll thing, just getting arrested for freedom. But yeah, they're down some pretty key pieces. It's just, I forgot who said it, but somebody had made the point. We're kind of getting to that part of the year where you're going to start to see that, guys are getting banged up, Josh Jacobs, et cetera, et cetera. So it is what it is. Speaking of Josh Jacobs, you mentioned that, you think that he would have been better than Jones up to this point of the year. It's obviously hard to know that. I think Aaron Jones is doing a pretty good job in Minnesota. I think the one thing that is for sure is that we would not have used Aaron Jones in the way that the reason for everybody pumping up the success of the Packers run game isn't really because of the effectiveness or the success rate of the Packers. It's because we're pounding the rock over and over again with Josh Jacobs. And we would never have done that with Aaron Jones. We would have seen a significant increase in the carries for Emmanuel Wilson and for, Brooks, presumably, because we would never have given Aaron Jones this many carries. And that's where you start to worry about stuff, because although Emmanuel Wilson does a really good job and everything else, we saw how significant of a drop it was when we took Aaron Jones off the field. And the problem is the offense sort of just stagnates whenever he's not on there, and we can't keep giving him the ball. And I think that's where we see a little bit more success and why the Packers really want guys like this, because they don't want to have to do that. Of course, you're going to have to always give guys a break, but you don't want to have to do that all the time. You want to be able to keep the momentum going, which is also why they went out and got all these other guys. Unfortunately, A.J. Dillon goes on IR, and you got your rookie Marshawn Lloyd, who goes on IR. I believe he's on IR. Marshawn Lloyd is like a Josh Jacobs type of guy. He's a smaller, more compact, but big dude. I don't know what he is, like 5. I don't know. To make something up, but I don't think he's 6'1". Let me just look it up. So I believe, and these things are always kind of iffy, but Josh Jacobs is 5'10", Marshawn Lloyd is 5'9". So that's what I thought, 5'9"-ish. So about the same height. They're both 220 pounds. I think the biggest difference is Marshawn Lloyd is faster. I mean, I think significantly. Josh Jacobs' pro day time, he didn't do anything really in the combine, but his pro day time was a 4.64. Marshawn Lloyd is a 4.46, and so Lloyd is a really fun guy to watch. I mean, it seems like he's got a little ways to go. It's similar to A.J. Dillon. You've got the tools. It's a matter of can you make it work, or whoever else. There's a litany of guys that we've drafted where the tools don't exactly come to what we need them to come to. But he's built like Josh Jacobs, and you can see the shiftiness, which is really cool because you got a 220-pound guy, and when you got that lower center of gravity, you can kind of move a little better. When you're taller, it's like that whole stack of Legos thing. You put like 3 of them, and you start going side to side. You can really zigzag that thing all over. Make that thing 20 high and try to like zigzag around. It's flopping all over the place. Physics, So he can get low to the ground. Real shifty one-cut runner, so he can get going. And that's what you see with Josh Jacobs that I didn't really realize about his game is how quickly he can change direction and just burst in that direction. He's just going. So you see a lot of Marshawn Lloyd or Josh Jacobs in Marshawn Lloyd. And I think the theory there is you got Josh Jacobs, you put him on the sideline, and you got Josh Jacobs again. So you don't have to ever stop just having this persistent, talented run game, not like we're going to continue running, but there's a significant drop-off, and this kind of sucks a little bit. And if nothing else, that is what we would have been missing if we had Aaron Jones as our running back. On top of the fact that, again, he doesn't have as many years left, and we just hit the reset button with the new guy, and very hopeful that he can stay healthy. The problem with guys like this is they have more tread on their tires, so they may wear out a little faster. We'll see how it goes, one step at a time. But it's been going very well. I'm very happy with it. Yes, Gutekunst, all that, all in on it. We absolutely do not win a lot of these games without these moves. If we didn't get Malik, we would have absolutely lost those 2 games. If we didn't get McKinney, it's hard to say with Josh Jacobs because would we have moved on from Josh? Part of the reason we did move on was because Josh Jacobs entered the arena. So if it wasn't for Josh, we probably would have had Aaron Jones. So it's hard to say how much that contributed to our success, but it probably has to some degree. And then the draft picks are huge. I mean, Edgerrin Cooper has been fantastic. Where would we be if we did not have Bullard and Williams? Even if Bullard isn't playing very well, what would we be doing right now? If we didn't have Williams and if we didn't have the safeties, we would probably have Anthony Johnson playing safety. We would have Keyshawn still in the slot as opposed to the boundary, which seemingly he's much better on the boundary. And then we would have had probably, Stokes or Valentine just persistently on the boundary. I mean, it's a major improvement across the board to our defense this past year. It's been remarkable. Why don't we take our first break? We'll come back and hear from Nico.
Hey, Ryan, this is Nico. So listening to your little open monologue, about how the parity in the NFL and how, the Chiefs are playing like crap, but they're undefeated. And,
yeah.
The Patriots beat a much better team and how, we get down like, Nate, he couldn't finish the game. I'm sorry for Nate. Although I will say, Nate, I love your calls with the bleeps. It's great. But
love the bleeps.
I was waiting for you to make this point, and maybe you did, and I'm stupid. But also, as far as next week goes, I think we're playing the Lions. I know we're all like, oh my God, we're playing the Lions. But to be honest, yeah, it's important to win. But even if we lose, that doesn't mean, we're done. Because how many times have we played the Lions when we were the way better team and lost?
Right.
Hey, back,
Well, and the point that I made yesterday, or possibly this morning, whatever, was, the Lions were one of the teams last year where the Lions were significantly better than us. And I don't just mean talent. It was like the Packers are garbage. The Lions are a playoff team. And we beat them on Thanksgiving, and then again went on to beat the Chiefs, where it was like, well, okay, we beat the Lions. That's cool. That was a good game. Not beating the Chiefs, and then we did. And that was when we were down in the dumpsters. Our season was over. We're talking about drafting a replacement for Jordan Love. At least I was. Could we possibly get the number one pick? Like, how bad do things have to get? We were at that stage pretty much when we had gotten to the Lions. I know we beat the Rams in there, which probably threw a wrench in some stuff, but it was bad times. We're not there. We're very high on this team. We know how good they are. Again, power rankings across the board, they're basically a top 5 unit. They're healthier than the Lions. I mean, we'll see what happens with our guys and whatnot, but not having Hutchinson is massive. It's a good football team, right? And it's at home. So to say that we don't really have a chance is certainly crazy.
You even mentioned it the other day. The Lions have always been a little thorn in our heel. When they were absolute crap, they would play us like gangbusters, especially on Thanksgiving. But so it's a divisional game, you know.
Yeah.
And I've used this excuse or this example before. Back when Dallas was just running train on everyone in the '90s, Emmitt Smith and Aikman and all those guys, and Michael Pushoff Irving. One year they went like 14-2, and the Washington Redskins, who were just ass, went 2-14. And guess which team they beat twice? They beat the Dallas Cowboys.
Right.
So next week's game, yeah, we'd love to win it. But even if we could be playing lights out and still lose because it's a divisional game. The opponents know each other. There's feelings ahead of time and all that stuff. But anyways, I just kind of want to make that point because I could see if we do get creamed next week, which, right now we probably will. I imagine a lot of people are going to be, on the cliff just thinking, give me one reason to stay. But, we do have to calm down. And I mentioned this before this week. We gotta peak at the right time. I've seen plenty of teams peak in week 8, 9, and 10, be like 8-2, and all of a sudden they end up with 9 wins in the season because it looks like they suck. So, anyways, season is not over. Yes, I hope Love is good. We do have. I think really the defense. I think they just got gassed. I know that there's always. It sounds like there's an excuse, but there kind of is. Hell, when I went down to Florida in August, I wanted to kill myself walking into a grocery store. So, yeah. So, anyways, go Pack, go! It's not over yet. I mean, it might soon, but it's not yet. So, go Pack, go!
Dang it! I was gonna stop, and I was like, "No, I'll just let him finish," and then but then I immediately forgot the heck I was gonna say. What were you talking about again? Oh, here's a question: when was the last time the Packers didn't peak at the right time? Can you remember the last time when the Packers were a much better team going down the stretch than how they started the season? Going into the playoffs, that's when they became the hot team. I mean, good Lord, how many years do we have to go through? It's not even just the last 2 years. Like, the last 2 years have been crazy. We were bad, and then all of a sudden we snuck in. Bro, does everybody forget about the run the table? This is just what we do. I don't know why. Some teams get off hot and start to cool off. The Packers start off slow and warm up. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the cold weather. Maybe it's a health thing where everybody else is getting unhealthy. Maybe it's a coaching thing where our coaches are just better, so they do a better job of kind of gaining on the league and learning and outpacing everybody. Okay, you guys are doing this, we're going to do this, and by the end of it, we're ahead. I don't know. But this seems to be a very common thing with the Packers. If the Packers start hot and decline, I mean, I don't know really the last time that hey, of course it's a spam call. I'm like, oh, crap, somebody's calling me because it's on vibrate. Like, I don't want to miss a call. It might be my wife. It might be important. Smash my phone on the ground. Oh, it's a spam call. By the way, I don't listen to voicemails anymore. Let's see. This will probably bring, once they leave a message, it'll be up to 18. Don't care. Not listening. Not listening. It's also funny because it's like, to do all the polls and everything, it's like, I've never had anyone call me once in my life that was a pollster. I don't know what's going on with these polls. It's probably those people. Like, that was probably a poll. I just don't answer. Dude, I don't freaking know you. Unless it pops up on my caller ID, I am never answering, ever, not once. Leave a message, which I will not listen to. You know why? Because if you knew me, you could send me a text. What are we talking about? Oh, yeah, getting hot at the right time, right? Could be wrong. 2018, I don't know. I don't know what happened. I know we sucked. 2017 doesn't count because Rodgers got hurt. I don't think in 2018 we started off hot, but if we did, maybe that's the one year. I don't know, but that's what they do. They are what they are, and then by the end of the season is when they really pick up and become like, oh dang, man, this might be.
Howdy, this is Jared, the Uber driver from Texas.
What's up?
And just had a thing to say on the game. Devontae Wyatt big bodying that offensive lineman or whoever out of the way for the ball. My God. Imagine if he played basketball. Man, that'd be a fun sight to see. There's also, love the fact that you got the laughing off at the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
And they could probably take notes from the Texans on how to stop a Hail Mary. Did you see the last play against they were playing the Colts? Yeah. And they just rushed 3 guys from one side and made Anthony Richardson just like have to go all the way to the sideline, and he couldn't get out of the way. Oh my God, that was wild. But the Bears still suck.
The Bears
still suck. Anyways, congrats to the Packers for beating all the AFC South opponents. Not that they're as important as NFC opponents, but
By the way, that is a large proof. You could say cursed if you want, but there is something to be said about the organization making a huge difference, right? I mean, it's one thing to just like be good at stuff and have good players and all that, but if you are if you have a dysfunctional organization, it's still unlikely you're going to be successful. It just is. And the Bears have dysfunction. Their GM is a goober. Their head coach is a dork. And the ownership is a joke. It's just how it's always been. It's pathetic. It's terrible. And so it doesn't matter what you do. You'll find ways to lose in situations where you shouldn't. I mean, there are going to be times when they're going to get close, like 2018 before the double doink, which is just classic Bears nonsense. Somebody actually put together a montage of like 4 of the most devastating things. 2 of them, I don't even know if I realized. Obviously, the Texans won on the double doink, and then there were 2 in between. And it's like, oh, man, that is freaking brutal. Not to mention the games against the Packers. Randall Cobb just doing work on that team. But, yeah, if you don't figure out your organizational dysfunction, it ain't going to change.
We'll take what we can get. Hopefully we can relock, reload. Hopefully Love is okay for this coming week. I mean, even if not, there's a bye week after, so hopefully he's good and healthy for whatever we have left in the season. Go Pack, go. Have a good day, man.
Yeah, we'll continue to keep an eye on Jordan, trending in the right direction. We'll see how it goes. I still haven't been able to stop thinking about that dual quarterback thing, but, I'm sure that won't happen. But either way, feeling good. Get through this week, got a bye week, come out. That's the biggest thing for me. I want to come out of that bye week just freaking swinging, man.
Hey, Ryan, it's Craig from Indiana.
Hey.
It's Victory Monday. Another stressful game. Felt pretty good at the beginning. Really liked the defense the first quarter, and obviously liked what we saw against Houston. And then they just disappeared. It was so strange. And I know Evan Williams got hurt, but surely he didn't even play the first game of the year or much of the second game. So I can't believe his disappearance is screwing up the defense that bad. If it does, we're in trouble. I love the guy, but we got a lot of other people that have played football for a while that need to just step up. I mean, Stokes, if he's coming in, he needs to freaking step up.
Yeah.
And so far, it doesn't seem very reliable. Or Valentine comes in, and I know they're corners versus Williams, but I know they just had to move some people around and stuff. But glad we have the kicker. Felt a lot better about that. I thought Brooks was so smart on stopping at the 3-yard line or whatever.
Yeah.
That was awesome. That was great because it was a little scary the way they were moving on us. And I think they had a timeout or 2. That would have been that could have been trouble. So great heads up play there. I love the Malik to Jaden Reed pass. That was awesome. I think you ought to let Malik throw a little bit more.
Sure.
He had some good throws. Dobb should have caught that one. It was fast ball, but it was there. It was catchable. So I'm really hoping we just let Jordan rest. I don't know what percent Jordan would have to be for you to say, hey, he should start over Malik. I'm thinking it's 90% or better.
At least. I'm
and
leaning
especially
100.
with the bye week coming up. But we'll see how the week progresses. But if we can formulate a good game plan with Malik all week, I say we at least have a shot at it. So if our defense can play well next week, but it should be an awesome game. So hope Jair gets back as well. That'd be pretty big miss if he's out. All right, keep up the good work, Ryan. Talk later. Bye.
Yeah, I mean, I really am, and I'm sure there are arguments against it. I am in the 100% camp. I just, this is what annoyed me last time is they were adamant that he has to be 100%, and then it didn't seem like he was. Right? I understand they probably felt like he was. He was medically cleared to 100%. There was nothing wrong, but the problem is they never tested it. They never had the opportunity to look at it and see, can he handle this? Can he throw? Can he run on it? Is he comfortable with it? They said, look, he's got no practice. We don't know, but he says he's got no pain, so let's just throw him in there. And it didn't work. Now, again, fortunately, they don't have that situation now. So if he says he's okay, they know that he's playing on it. They see what he looks like. I don't know to what degree, when they say limited, what exactly that means, but I'm guessing that at least means throw some passes. I'm probably not simulating pressure to make him really run around, but, can you just very simply go through your drop back, lean into your leg, step into your throw and look comfortable, and maybe some slight jogging around, is everything okay? Maybe if they really feel like, look, this thing is fine, it's a little bit of a pain management thing, but I think the bottom thing is the risk of re-injury needs to be zero, right? And I don't, obviously you could always re-injure things. I'm talking about it's an elevated risk of re-injury by playing them. And sustaining a bigger injury. That needs to be zero. Otherwise, you don't play him. Because he can rest all of this week, he can rest all of next week, and then he should be good to go the week after that. I don't see any reason to risk additional further injury to where there's a chance that he doesn't play coming out of the bye. I am risking that 0%. All right, let's take our final break. We'll come back. We got Craig again. A little bit of Nate, so I'll get the old beat button ready to go. We'll be right back.
Craig, I just have a question. I'm not a big scheme guy, but it seems like when the other team loses their first and second receivers, and we still have all our starters healthy, that wouldn't that be a time to kind of play more man and less zone? Because, again, we should be able to cover these third, fourth, fifth wide receivers with our starters. Because it seemed like we were playing a lot of zone, and they were just finding the openings and burning us.
Yeah.
They just run between four people and find an open spot, and Lawrence is good enough to realize that as well. But I could be wrong. Maybe they were doing man, but it sure didn't look like it, and they sure seemed to be exploiting the zone. And I just thought when you have that kind of change in the lineup that you would shift more to man. But I could be wrong. Like I said, not an expert, but wonder what your opinion was on that. Take care. Bye.
It definitely felt passive. It felt like they were playing zone. Like I had said before, it kind of seemed like the reason why there was no dip is because we weren't getting beat by talent. We were getting beat by scheme. And in that case, it doesn't matter. You can have almost any NFL caliber wide receiver run a route to a vacant zone and have the quarterback throw it to him. And the other part of it is you got a quarterback playing at a pretty high level. He was playing a good game. So his accuracy was on point. He knew when to throw, where to throw, and threw it accurately. But you're right. Maybe they did need to switch that up. I don't know if they tried it and it was an abject failure or what, but maybe try to get in their face, get in their chest, disrupt the rhythm, disrupt the timing to see if that's going to change things up. Now, I don't know if they did or didn't, but I do think that what you're saying, to me, makes sense. It makes perfect sense to me that would be the next step. But it's one of those things, I think you go back and you reassess some things. You sit down with your defensive coaches, you sit down with Matt LaFleur, and you look at what happened. It may go back to the heat thing again. Maybe they were tired, maybe they were gassed, I don't know. But you go back and say, look, here's why we failed, and this is what we need to do about it. And maybe it was players just not doing their job, and maybe it was we need to change some things up. I think to some degree you felt as though Jeff Hafley was just kind of getting circles run around him a little bit, right? It felt like he was playing passive, and the Jaguars are just kind of picking that apart. So hopefully that's a bit of a learning experience, and we don't see much of that going forward.
Hey Ryan, it's Nate. Just wanted to call in to talk about a few things.
Okay.
First of all, I officially just hate our trenches, like both sides of the ball.
Sure.
Our defensive line, with how much money and draft capital has been invested, just isn't doing it. Just ain't doing it. I had such high hopes for Rashawn, and I'm to the point where I genuinely have to question if he is just not a good edge rusher. You know, he was, and now he's not. And I don't know if it's the scheme or if it's him after he got paid, if he just decided to lose all talent that he used to have. But good Lord, what happened to Rashawn? There was a time that not long ago, I don't remember if that was last season or 2 seasons ago, I thought he was going to break the single season sack record because he started really, really strong. And now I don't even know if he's going to, be an average sack producer. And I don't care about chips. I don't care. Oh, he's getting pressure. I don't care. Pressures are great. I know that, but I want sacks. I don't want at a certain point. I don't want.
Well, he's not getting pressures. I mean, I disagree with you to some degree on the sack thing because, whatever. But I mean, the pressures aren't there either. So there's no dispute there.
Pressures. I want sacks. Offensive line. Outside of Zach Tom, I don't like any of them. Elton Jenkins used to like him, but he's fallen off completely. I don't know what happened. I really thought we had something in him, but he is just wildly average to below average. And we need to start prioritizing the trenches again, because if we don't, they're going to deteriorate really, really, really quickly. And it's going to be sad, and it's going to be a real bummer to watch that. But beyond that, I again.
Well, let me, before we get too far and I just start forgetting again, I think we've had this discussion before, Nate. We have our little therapy session here. It's not that I necessarily disagree. I think you exaggerate the negative and overemphasize the negative, right? So Rashawn is, and I'm honestly just getting tired of talking about the trenches because I'm just saying the same thing over and over again. I can't single out any single person until we identify what the problem is collectively. All right, we do the same thing with Lucas Van Ness. He's a bust. It's over. Okay, I can't declare that until somebody can answer to me why every single human being on the defensive line took a giant step backward this year. I don't care. I mean, if it's scheme or whatever, somebody has to answer that for me because that doesn't make sense. And if you say it's scheme, tell me why the defensive tackles is it that different? And again, they played nickel. It's the same damn thing. It's a 4-man front with your hand in the dirt. The exception of Preston. I think he stood up almost all the time anyways, but there's no difference in scheme, really. They had to do this crap all the time. So that's not an adequate response. That I don't understand what the drop-off is. And if somebody can explain it to me, then maybe we can move forward. But until that, I can't judge anybody, including Rashawn, who is climbing his way back out of this. As far as the offensive line, to be clear, if you look at pass blocking efficiency via PFF, the Packers have the 7th best offensive line in football. So, again, I understand that there are issues. I don't think, and this is true of a lot of people who are hyper negative about things, there is no contextualizing and understanding how bad other situations are. As bad as we have it, with a couple things here and there, Myers is slipping up and this and that and the other, you don't understand how bad it is for other teams. And the other way to put it, there are 25 teams who have more to complain about than the Green Bay Packers as far as the pass blocking goes. So I don't know if it's just because we're spoiled because we've had these elite offensive lines from left tackle to right tackle, like guys with 90. I mean, the days of Bakhtiari and then Sitton and Lindsley and I don't know who you'd have at right guard that was at the best, maybe Lang and then Balaga. When we had guys that were like 70s, 80s, 90s across the board, that's fiction. That's a fairy tale. That doesn't happen. Aside from like one time with the Packers, or maybe 2 times, because Favre had a couple great lines too. These are fictional fairy tales. They just don't happen, and they're not the standard. It's not to say that that's not what you shoot for. You shoot for that everywhere, but you're never going to achieve that. So I don't know. I think to some degree we could say I wish things were a little bit better. I think this is an over-exaggeration. Rasheed Walker, I mean, the penalties for me are the biggest issue. He has 7 penalties. Elton Jenkins also has 5, which is too many. Zach Tom has 4. The penalties are getting stupid. Myers 3, Ryan 2, whatever. The run blocking, I think, is where you could have the biggest. Like if you're really if that's the main thing that you want, then yes, Zach Tom is the only guy worth a damn, and everybody else should be cut. That's it. There's nothing else to be said about that. Maybe Sean Ryan, but he's not the greatest pass blocker. He's got like a 70 pass blocking, 69.6, and a 58 run block, which is almost average. But again, as far as pass blocking, Rasheed Walker 77. Elton Jenkins has an 82, which is really good. Josh Myers has a 71, which is good. Sean Ryan has a 70. Jordan Morgan 65, which is above average for both, borderline good for Sean Ryan. And then Zach Tom has an 82 with an 83 run blocking grade. I mean, every single offensive lineman we have has actually a really good pass blocking grade, including the center that nobody likes, including Sean Ryan, who's actually, again, he's sitting at a 70. So, you know, I don't know if it's yeah, but they can't run block. If it's yeah, but the statistics still suck. Rasheed has given up 18 pressures. Josh Myers has given up 13 from the center position, which feels like a lot. I'd have to go back and look, but I don't think that that's good. But for whatever reason, again, when you look at the grades, how many guys have a 70 or higher in 5 spots? It's us, the Lions, and what? 2 other teams? Maybe? Probably not. Do the Lions even have that? They might not even have that. Let's see. They might have a guy that doesn't. 71. Yeah. Graham Glasgow, their left guard, has a 63 pass blocking grade and a 57 run blocking grade. Frank Ragnow, the center, he has a 90 run blocking grade. It's a 57 pass blocking grade. And then their right guard isn't as good as our right guard. He has a 66 pass blocking grade. So they have 2 tackles. And I gotta do a side by side. I don't think they have a single offensive lineman as good as our offensive line right now. Not one. As much as we freaking talk about this offensive line constantly. Hold on. Let's do this real quick. I'm going to put this up over here. Let me pause this. It'll take me a second. Actually, let's just do this. So, as far as left tackle, if we're just talking pass blocking, Rasheed Walker is better than Taylor Decker. Elton Jenkins is miles ahead of Graham Glasgow. Josh Myers is way higher than Frank Ragnow. Sean Ryan is higher than Kevin Zeitler. And Zach Tom is higher than Penei Sewell. So, all 5 of our offensive linemen are better pass blockers than the Detroit Lions offensive line right now. Just for context. So again, I get it. I understand. And I know, like with Elton Jenkins, I mentioned, well, he had a 53 grade overall, 51 run blocking, 60. And if you look at his overall grade, it looks like garbage. It's 61. Why? Because again, with the frickin' pass blocking, he has an 82 grade, almost a 60 run blocking, and they give him a 60 grade. Basically, his run blocking grade is his grade. That's bull crap. He has an 82 pass blocking grade. He's given up 0 sacks the entire year and only 1 hit. That's it. The hurries, everything else is hurries, and it's only 7. He's given up 1 pressure per game, basically. That's it. Elton Jenkins is having a hell of a year. The only problem is, again, if you're really big into they have to be good run blockers, the team sucks. The team is garbage. If we look at run blocking grades, let's see. Where are we at here? Then their left tackle is better. So Taylor Decker is better than Rasheed Walker as a run blocker. Graham Glasgow is barely, we're talking 57 to 56, but barely better than Elton Jenkins. Ragnow is miles ahead of Myers, 90 to 43. Zeitler is better than Sean Ryan. And Penei Sewell is better than Zach Tom, although it's kind of close. 80. It's crazy to me that Zach Tom, if you were to give him like a comp, it's basically Penei Sewell. Freaking ridiculous. Like how the fact that they're both 80s in both categories, but also slightly better run blockers and pass blockers. Zach Tom is a Penei Sewell offensive lineman. And again, here's the issue that I have with you, Nate. Rather than saying, listen, we're pretty good in a lot of places. I wish the run blocking was better. And Zach Tom is frickin' Penei Sewell, arguably the best tackle in the entire NFL. You take the argument of Zach Tom's fine, everybody else is a piece of crap. Because the standard in your mind is Penei Sewell. We either have 5 Penei Sewells or they get the middle finger and they get off my team. If we look at the NFC North, the only pass blocker that was higher than Rasheed Walker is Christian Darrisaw, who they just lost. At left guard, the best pass blocker is Elton Jenkins. Tevin Jenkins is the next closest with a 76. Glasgow and Brandell in Minnesota are in the 60s. At center, Josh Myers is the best center in the NFC North. Would you like to know the pass blocking grades? Frank Ragnow, 56. Garrett Bradbury, a 50. Coleman Shelton in Chicago is a 62. Josh Myers is a 71. At right guard, let's see. There's a lot of different guys here. We'll go with the ones that have taken the most snaps. I'm not sure if they're 100% starting. The best would be Chicago's Matt Pryor. Then it's Sean Ryan. Then Kevin Zeitler. And then Ed Ingram, who is the biggest piece of crap offensive lineman in the history of the universe with a 41 pass blocking grade. He's given up 20 pressures. This is what other teams are dealing with. And then at right tackle, you've got elite right tackles with the exception of Darnell Wright in Chicago, which is freaking hilarious to me. Although he is a good run block. Holy crap, the run blocking at right tackle. Let me just go over that real quick. The worst is Darnell Wright with a 76. Then Brian O'Neill with an 80.1. Then Zach Tom with an 83. Then Penei Sewell with an 86. G-bus. But pass blocking, Darnell Wright, 68. Then you've got Brian O'Neill with a 77. Then Penei Sewell with an 81 or 80.6. Then Zach Tom with an 81.8. There is one position, if I'm not mistaken, where the Packers don't have the best pass blocking offensive lineman, and they're the second best. This is by far the best pass blocking offensive line in the NFC North. It's got to be one of the best in the entire NFL. It has to be. I mean, I already said it was, 6th or whatever with pass blocking efficiency. I don't know exactly how that all lines up with the grades and whatnot. But, we sit here and we fall to our knees and worship the Detroit Lions and spit at the feet of Josh Myers and Sean Ryan and Elton Jenkins and blech. They're better than the frickin' Lions. Not run blocking. That's a great run blocking offensive line. Ours is dog crap, which is why the Packers defense, I don't know if it was players or coordinator, said it starts with stopping the run. 100%, because they're road graders on that offensive line. And then you got a guy that's really talented at running really quick through wide open holes, which is his job. So that's my only thing. Again, I'm with you if you could curb the language a little bit. You know what I mean? Like the run blocking sucks, and I would like to see more from Elton because dude hasn't had a good day run blocking since week 2. It's been bad every week. And I don't know if that's a Packers thing or what, because he used to be really good at that. Be nice if we could just get, again, like if you could be a 60, I can live with a 60. But I'm so tired of watching our running backs run into a freaking brick wall because we have 5 guys that are piles of crap when it comes to run blocking. It's kind of annoying.
I'm still upset that Jordan Love was not, benched a little bit longer to recover that knee. I know he did not re-injure his knee, but it was probably a factor in how he injured his groin. And
could be.
Now we're going into the hard part of the season here. We got a lot of tough games coming up, and I like Malik, but can he keep doing what he has been doing? Can he maintain this level of play? I don't know. Right. I'm not feeling too confident about the Lions game. The Lions have been just taking belt to ass lately and just dominating their opponents. And good Lord, if Evan Williams and Jair aren't playing on
I would borderline say if those two don't play, Jordan Love needs to be 102%, which the math wizards out there will say that's impossible, to which I would say exactly. Just he's not playing. I'm sorry.
Play the Lions. Holy shit, I am almost guaranteeing that we lose that game because that offense is going to tear us a new one if we don't have anybody in the secondary who can actually cover. With this, again,
But to that, I would add, I know he's got a part 2 here. As I said before, the Lions are dominating bad teams, right? There's really no reason to believe that they're going to blow out a competent defense, which is what the Packers are right now. I know it was a bad stretch, couple series in that game in Florida. Oh, my Lord. So we got to throw out everything we learned about the Packers and just focus on that and say that's who we are. Come on now. The bottom line is this is tough sledding for the Lions too. They have dominated bad teams. They have not dominated good teams. They've beaten them, but it comes down to the wire and they find a way to win, which interestingly enough is exactly what the Packers have done to get to 6-2. They've found ways to win in close games. I can't guarantee this is a close game. I can't, because it is a very high-powered offense right now. It's just one of those things that if you can't lock it down, it's going to get out of hand, right? So we cannot have one of those things where it's like, well, it was a bad half. Bro, a bad half is 28 points. So there's no such thing as, well, we let it slip for a half. Like you have to be locked in 4 quarters. But, you know, I don't want to overestimate it either. They are not a team that is dominating good teams. And this is a good team, and they're on the road, and this is their first game not in a dome, which they are an absolute dome team. So I don't want to overstate it too much. It is nice, though, to be in the position of the underdog. I mean, there is an element of going into this and saying, we're supposed to lose. We have the talent to win. And, you know, if we don't, whatever. We're 6-3. We're going into a bye week. We're coming out of it. You say it's the tough part of the schedule. Kind of, yeah. Kind of it is. We got to see what some of these teams coming up are. I don't fully know. The Vikings seem to be slipping. The Bears seem to be slipping. We'll see what the Lions can continue to do. It seems like they're heating up. Will they continue to? For how long? When does that start to fall off? I don't know. We got to see them again, obviously. And then a couple other teams, you know, I don't know what they are is the point. They're scary teams that don't seem to be finding the gas pedal right now. Kind of like what the Packers are. You know, it's a scary team that's kind of, what's going on here? It's kind of like the horror movie where the guy's got the chainsaw and it's not starting, you know? That's what a lot of teams are right now. But I think we are positioned very well right now. If the goal is get hot late and get into the playoffs, I can't promise we get hot late, but I feel like health is priority numero uno because we need to be healthy. That's going to help us once we get in there. And that's why Jordan has to be 100%. I'm not risking anything because a loss here, and somebody had run like a data thing on like the teams that matters the most for the Packers or the teams where win or lose makes the biggest difference. And the Packers are on that list. And it's true. I mean, if we win this game, it's huge. The difference between the other teams that were on that list is a loss doesn't kick us out of the playoffs. A loss means we're like 65% to get in. It's a big dramatic loss because we're now 0-2 in the division, but we're still likely to get in. The biggest difference is if we win, and maybe that's the right way to look at it. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong saying, listen, it's not a big deal. The bigger point is if we win, we have like an over 80% chance of getting into the playoffs. And maybe that needs to be the mentality, not only of us, but of the team to realize that. Like, we have essentially punched our ticket if we can win this game. Throw every freaking thing you've got at this game, find a way to win, and go into that bye week, get healthy, and come out and, you know, pop off a couple wins here and there, and we're good to go. I don't know. Whatever. We got to do part 2 for Nate, and then we'll get out of here.
Nate, again, just wanted to finish up my thoughts, but again, with the secondary without Jair and Evan Williams, it's not.
Scary.
I don't think it's going to look very pretty. Like McKinney can't be all over the field. McKinney can be exactly one place on the field at a time. And beyond him, like I know Bullard has shown a few things, but I don't think he's quite as good. Like he's sufficeable. Other than that, our secondary is not that great right now when we don't have McKinney, Jair, and Evan Williams playing. Like those 3 guys are kind of like locking down. They're covering the high end of this defense. Without 2 out of 3 of them, it's not gonna. I don't even like to think about it, honestly.
I know. It sucks.
And then I guess my only other comment would just be Jaden Reed. We've beaten it to death, but he's got to pick it up. My guy, if you want to be a receiver on the Packers team with how much depth we have, you have to start producing. You just have to. And I don't know. I don't know where this season's going. I'm totally up and down on this team. it's ugly wins against the Jags that make me nervous, and then we're going into this Lions game, and just look at how the Lions have been beating their opponents, man. And they hate us. They hate us. If you don't think that they're going to come into this game and play it as if it's a Super Bowl for them, even though they're already probably going to make the playoffs, they are going to come in angry. They're going to come in wanting to beat us by 60 points. Right. If you think for 1 minute that even if they're up by 40 points, do you think that they're going to let off the gas on the Packers at all, or are they just going to embarrass us? Just think if you were a Lions fan, like if the Packers were going against the Lions and we had the opportunity to beat them by 60 points, do you not think that we would probably do that with how much we don't like the Lions? It's going to be really ugly if we don't have certain players coming back to play, because we need it. We need them. Jair, we need you. Williams, we need you. You guys heal up fast. Please, God, heal fast.
No.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and again, the context that I would add there is that it does go both ways. There've already been comments about the Lions are bullies and they like to pile on and they want to embarrass people, and it's like we don't take kindly to that here, and we're not going to put up with that. And so that is the Packers mentality seemingly right now. Keyshawn screamed from the background something about it, but that's kind of the whole thing. Is it's like these are fake tough guy bullies who want to go up against bad teams, embarrass them. We saw that where they tried to run the offensive linemen in and everything else. It's just they're such a petty bullcrap team, and the Packers defense has already started to take offense to just their existence, and they're ticked off, and I think they need to be, because that's what this game's going to be. The only benefit of not having Jair in the game, if he doesn't play, is the fact that this is absolutely going to be a really chippy game. And Jair is going to get a penalty. I don't see any world in which Jair doesn't get at least a penalty, if not thrown out of this game, for throwing hands at somebody or something. But I look forward to it, man. I think it's going to be a good throwback football game. It's going to be like an AFC North, NFC North type of cold weather, just hatred game. There hasn't been as much of that. It used to be, early 2000s is the last time you'd see the Ray Lewis AFC North, just violent. I remember they talk about the fact that they didn't really like to televise some of those games because they'd get so violent, and it was in the era where we're trying to be more sensitive and more of this, that, and they were just a freaking bloodbath kind of a deal. And I like that we're getting into that a little bit. I like that this is a violent football team, and the Lions, no question, are that kind of a team. So I look forward to a little bit of a throwback, hard-hitting kind of a football game. And I know they're going to try to trenches pound it down our throat, and I know we're going to do the same thing to them with Josh Jacobs. We're going to smash them in the mouth over and over again. So we will see. We'll see how this all plays out. But either way, it should be a good testament to true, real, hardcore football, and I hope it's at least a competitive game. And again, the Packers will exit this game with high odds of being in the playoffs either way. Really, really high if they beat the Vikings. The biggest thing, again, come out healthy, get into that bye week, get super healthy, and just go on a freaking tirade. That's about it. And we'll go from there. But anyways, you guys have a good rest of your night. I will talk to you tonight, tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.